Good climate to everyone. I hope you had a good weekend, and I hope this finds you well. I'm not actually recording this morning. I'm away on a trip, so I'm recording this last Friday afternoon. So I can't tell you what the weather is. I'm not that good having sunny weather as we film this, but that's last Friday. Things will be completely different by now. So we left off in the story of King David. It's a story of a man who had a great start in life, rose to a very important position, and then completely fell into almost ruin. But along the way, he experienced God's forgiveness and God's restoration of his relationship with him. But we began to look at that story. We looked at how King David was supposed to be out on the battlefield one day, but he sent his generals off without him. And so he just had idle time on his hands. He wasn't where he was supposed to be, wasn't where the Lord wanted him to be, but he had created idle time for himself. He's in his palace. It's up on a hill. He can see all the homes below him in the city of Jerusalem. He looks out. He sees a naked woman. It happens. He should have diverted his eyes, should have gone for a walk, should have done a lot of things, but instead he looked and then he thought and he thought and he thought. When Paul says in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul, I take every thought captive, this is one of the kinds of situations that Paul is thinking about for us as Christians, that we need to take our thoughts captive. We need to, by God's grace and help, redirect them in a situation like this. David didn't. David let things get away from him. He thought about it. He thought about it some more. He thought about how beautiful she was and that he had just seen her naked. Then he sends some servants to go look, find out who she is. And then he thinks about it some more and he thinks about it some more. And then he sends the servants to go get her and bring him to him. And then he has sex with her. He has an affair. They're both married. She's married to a soldier named Uriah. He has ultimately the husband killed so that he could cover things up, but also because he wanted to marry this woman. There's more to the story than even that. And that's what I want us to take a look at this morning. It says that after all the time, the mourning was over for Uriah's death, David had Bathsheba brought to his house, and she became his wife, and she bore him a son. And we read these sad words. But the thing David had done displeased the Lord, and there were going to be consequences. We're not going to get to that today, the consequences, but please know that unrepentant behavior has bad consequences. What did the Lord want for David in all of this? I was thinking about Proverbs 5 today. Drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. He's not really talking about drinking physical water here. You're going to see in a second. Should your springs overflow in the streets, your streams of water in the public squares? He's talking about marriage. Let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth. A loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breast satisfy you always. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. Why, my son, be intoxicated with another man's wife? Why embrace the bosom of a wayward woman? Wow, powerful words. What that's speaking to is that in God's design for human beings, he designed one man to be married to one woman. I'm not counting in the cases of being a widower or widower, um, but it wasn't his plan that people would be married to multiple people. It wasn't even his plan for there to be divorce. It says because people were so sinful, he allowed it. But it wasn't his plan. His plan was one man married to one woman and to grow deep in that relationship and to enjoy one another, including sexually to enjoy one another. That was his plan. Let's look at David's family tree for a second. This is David's life. I don't have time to go to all the scriptures. In theory, this is a 10-minute podcast. Can't go into all the detail I always want to go into, but here you go. His first wife's name was Micah. She was the daughter of King Saul. David was serving King Saul as a soldier in his army. He had done great things. Saul sort of wanted to reward him with one of his daughters uh, as a reward for what he had done, but Saul became jealous. So, me, Micah's sister there that you see in parentheses, she is the uh, she is the daughter that David should have gotten. But Saul became jealous, married her off to somebody else. Turns out Micah, the younger daughter, she loved David at that time. And so Saul, in his jealousy, tried to set up David so David would get killed. He said, listen, you need to go out and kill 100 Philistines and bring me a certain part of their body. We don't need to get into all that. Bring me a certain part of their body back as proof that you did it. And I believe David did 200. But I think Saul's idea was David will get killed in the process. And this guy that I'm jealous of his rising popularity, I don't need to worry about. But David accomplished it. So he marries Micah. Micah loves David. A little while later, through some unusual circumstances, Abigail's husband treats David's men very poorly and ends up dying from the incident. David looks at Abigail, who's also a beautiful woman, and he marries her. Now he's up to 2 women. And then he marries this woman named, I don't even know how to say half these names. You can see it on the screen. He marries her, and they're related. And then then it says later he marries 4 other women. You can see the 4 in the next line. And then it says more wives, concubines from Jerusalem. So let's count this up. By the way, Micah, King Saul, actually, when David was off in battle, he actually took his daughter and remarried her to another man, and eventually David would reclaim her from the other man. But let's count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wives that all gave him children. Then it says there's more wives and concubines. And they jokingly called concubines a legal girlfriend on the side. They were kind of married, kind of not married. They weren't a wife, but there was an arrangement. And all of these women, even though he should have only had one, he had opportunity to have sex with any of these. They were all his wives in the day. This was not God's plan. God's plan was one man and one woman. David has lots of opportunity to express himself physically with any number of women. We don't even know how many other wives there were, nor do we know how many concubines. It just says there were others. It could be he had 10, 15 other women, all at his disposal. And then he looks out and he sees Bathsheba, and the others were not enough. He was living outside the will of God. And when you pursue life outside of the will of God, it's never enough. And so David then does the nasty with Bathsheba, and she eventually becomes his wife. If we had time to look at this story, one of the things that you would see is all of these children from these women, they didn't get along. This is not a cheery family picture. One stepson raped a stepdaughter or stepsister. Another stepbrother kills that stepbrother. Later on, one of his sons tries to kill David and tries to take his throne from him. And there's other incidents going on. Anytime we step outside of the plan of God, we're opening ourselves up to any number of problems. The reason I'm going through all this is I want you to understand the magnitude of what God is about to forgive. Wednesday, Lord willing, we're going to look at that story. But today, I want you to see the magnitude. David ultimately is honored as a man after God's own heart. It's an amazing story. But here we have an adulterer. We have a murderer. We looked at the other day, other things going on, doing dishonorable things. He has many women. He has access to many women. He still wants more women. And at the end of the day, this is a guy that needed to be forgiven by God and that eventually would be called a man after God's own heart. It's an amazing story. I hope you stick with us as we come back to this. And Lord willing, I hope you have a good couple days and look forward to the more beautiful part of this story that we're getting to on Wednesday. Between now and then, I hope you have a good couple days.